What if I told you that a small, forgotten spice sitting in your kitchen cabinet could change everything? Not a miracle pill, not a risky supplement, but a natural, time tested ally that's been quietly supporting male vitality for centuries. Yet, almost no one is talking about it. You see, for many men over 60, the changes come quietly. Energy starts to dip, desire doesn't feel the same, intimacy becomes more complicated, and confidence, once strong, begins to fade. But here's the thing no one tells you. It's not your fault, and more importantly, it's not the end. Because what feels like decline might actually be your body whispering, asking for support. And sometimes that support comes from the most unexpected places, like cloves. Yes, the same cloves you might toss into a holiday ham or steep in warm tea. Today, we'll reveal the 10 amazing science-backed benefits of cloves for men over 60. Specifically how they support blood flow, hormone health, sensitivity, sleep, and yes, even performance in the bedroom. Stick with me to the end because you won't just learn how cloves work, you'll discover how to use them as part of a simple daily habit that could help you feel more like yourself again. Let's begin. Cloves, more than just a spice. You've probably seen them 100 times, those tiny dried buds in your spice rack. But did you ever imagine that cloves could be one of the most powerful tools to support male health as you age? In ancient medicine, from Ayurveda to traditional Persian remedies, cloves were treasured not just for their flavor, but for their deep restorative properties, especially for men. They were called a man's tonic, not because they worked overnight, but because they nourished the systems that fade silently with age: circulation, hormones, sensitivity, and even emotional well-being. Now, modern science is starting to validate what ancient cultures already knew. Cloves contain eugenol, a compound that helps relax blood vessels and improve circulation. That means better delivery of oxygen and nutrients to where they're needed most, including intimate areas that rely on blood flow for responsiveness. They're also packed with antioxidants, which protect hormone-producing cells from oxidative stress, the kind of invisible damage that builds over decades. Some early studies suggest that cloves may even support natural testosterone production, helping men regain that grounded, steady energy that often fades with age. But here's the truth. Cloves won't make you 25 again, and they're not a magic bullet. Instead, think of them like watering a garden that's gone untended. You're not trying to turn back time. You're simply giving your body what it needs to remember how to feel alive again. And when that happens, when blood flows, nerves respond, hormones align, something powerful awakens. In the next section, we'll look at where everything begins for men, blood flow, and why so many over 60s struggle with it silently. When blood stops flowing, everything slows down. For most men over 60, the issue isn't about desire, it's about response. I've heard it countless times. Doc, my mind is willing, but the body, it just doesn't follow. That's not about motivation, it's about circulation. You see, arousal isn't just emotional, it's vascular. It's all about blood flow. And when the arteries leading to the pelvis become stiff, narrow, or inflamed, they stop delivering the blood needed for function and sensation. And when blood stops flowing, everything slows down, not just in intimacy, but in confidence, clarity, and vitality. Here's where cloves come in again. Cloves contain eugenol, a powerful compound with vasodilating properties, meaning it helps blood vessels relax and open. That improves endothelial function, the health of the blood vessel lining. The result? More oxygen, better nutrient delivery, a smoother, more responsive system. George, a 68-year-old Navy veteran, came to me frustrated, stoic, quiet, but I could tell he was carrying more than he let on. We made a few tweaks to his routine: more hydration, light daily walking, and one simple addition: a cup of clove tea every evening. The shift wasn't instant, but within weeks, George reported his color had improved, his morning energy was back, and most importantly, he started feeling hopeful again. That's the power of blood flow. When it returns, so does sensation and the confidence that comes with it. But to fully unlock that flow, the body needs a spark, a natural chemical signal that tells your vessels it's time to open up. And that signal? It's called nitric oxide, the hidden spark. Nitric oxide. Let's say your circulation is working, blood vessels are capable, but things still don't click. The missing piece might be nitric oxide, a tiny molecule with a massive role. Nitric oxide is your body's green light. It tells blood vessels, relax, open up. Without it, blood can't flow freely, and arousal becomes inconsistent or even impossible, not due to a lack of desire, but because your body never gets the signal to respond. Here's the catch. After 60, nitric oxide production drops significantly. Stress, poor sleep, and inflammation worsen the problem. But here's the hopeful part. Cloves help. Thanks to their antioxidant content, cloves protect the very cells responsible for making nitric oxide. By reducing oxidative stress and improving endothelial function, cloves gently support your body's natural nitric oxide production. Tom, 66, once told me it wasn't like flipping a switch, but for the first time in a while, I stopped feeling ignored by my own body. He wasn't chasing a miracle, just a moment of connection, and cloves helped him find that again. Now that we've reignited the spark, let's go deeper. Because without the right hormonal support, even good blood flow and nitric oxide can only go so far. Testosterone, the quiet foundation. When most men hear testosterone, they think of gym ads, muscle mass, or libido boosters. But in reality, testosterone is much more than that. It's the foundation, the quiet fuel behind your energy, focus, emotional stability, and sense of self. It doesn't vanish overnight. It fades slowly, subtly, like a battery running low without warning. Richard, a 65-year-old retired school principal, said it best. "Doc, I'm not broken, but I'm not really here either. I just feel flat." His testosterone wasn't dangerously low, but it had dipped below his personal baseline, enough to leave him feeling dull, unfocused, and disengaged. That's where cloves came in. Cloves contain antioxidants that may help protect Leydig cells, the cells in your testes responsible for producing testosterone. When these cells are inflamed or damaged by oxidative stress, your hormones can slip out of balance. By reducing that inflammation, cloves create space for testosterone to be produced more consistently and naturally. Richard started drinking clove tea before bed. Nothing extreme, just a gentle habit. Weeks later, he noticed a change. He was waking up earlier, walking more, engaging with his wife, not with effort, but ease. He told me, "I didn't become someone new. I just started feeling more like me again." But even as testosterone rises, there's a hidden enemy that can quietly hold your progress hostage, one that's harder to see, but deeply felt. Let's talk about that next. The inflammation you can't see, but can definitely feel. Pain doesn't always come with a sharp edge. For many men over 60, it's a dull, constant pressure, not enough to panic, but enough to wear you down. Alan, 68, a retired carpenter, described it perfectly. It's not that things aren't working, it's that they feel off. Uncomfortable, like there's a tension I can't explain. Medically, everything looked fine. But what Alan was feeling was chronic low-grade inflammation, especially in the prostate and surrounding tissues. This kind of inflammation doesn't scream. It whispers, making sitting less comfortable, intimacy more difficult, and rest less restorative. And here again, cloves offer powerful support. The compound eugenol in cloves is a potent anti-inflammatory. It doesn't just mask symptoms like over-the-counter painkillers. It works at the root, calming the irritation itself. For Alan, a simple cup of clove tea each day made all the difference. Within 3 weeks, he said, "I didn't realize how much tension I was carrying until it was gone." Because when inflammation eases, everything starts to open. Blood flows better, nerves awaken, and the body begins to trust itself again. Which brings us to something even more personal than pain, the fading of sensation. Next, what happens when you stop feeling not just physically, but emotionally? When you stop feeling physically and emotionally. One of the hardest things for men to admit isn't that their body isn't performing, it's that they don't feel anything. Harold, 72, said it plainly, "I'm there. Physically, I can show up, but emotionally, sensually, I feel numb. I miss feeling connected." He wasn't alone. As we age, reduced blood flow and inflammation quietly dull the nerve endings around the penis. Sensation fades. Not just during intimacy, but in everyday moments, a hug, a touch, the feeling of being close. But there's good news. Nerve health can be supported. Clove oil, when used topically in a diluted form, has been shown to stimulate blood flow and oxygen to nerve endings. Over time, this can gently awaken sensation, like thawing frost from your skin after a long winter. Harold and his partner began using diluted clove oil during massage, slowly, mindfully. Weeks later, he said, "It's not just about feeling more. It's about being present. like we're actually holding each other again, not just going through the motions. Because intimacy is more than performance, it's presence. And presence begins with sensation. But what if the sensation returns and the desire still doesn't? Then it's time we address something even more vulnerable. Where did my desire go? I love my wife, we're close, but the spark, it's just not there anymore. Sound familiar? Many men over 60 describe not a loss of function, but a loss of desire, a dimming of the internal fire, a missing feeling they can't quite name. Victor 71 called it emotional numbness. He said, I miss wanting to want. Let me be clear. This isn't weakness. This isn't failure. And no, it's not your fault. Desire is tied to testosterone, blood flow, nerve health, emotional connection, and stress. When even one of those slips out of balance, your body begins to protect itself by shutting things down. That's why in Ayurvedic medicine, cloves were used as an aphrodisiac, not because they ignite passion overnight, but because they gently restore the systems that support desire. Victor didn't take a pill. He started a nightly ritual, turning off screens, sharing a warm cup of clove tea with his wife, slowing down. Within weeks, he noticed something subtle. Not fireworks, not heat, but a soft warmth. The return of affection, attention, closeness. Because sometimes desire doesn't need to be reignited, it just needs space to breathe again. Next, we'll explore how cloves may bring peace to the most frustrating issue many older men face, the prostate. The prostate, a tiny gland, a huge impact. Let's talk about something no one wants to talk about, but every man over 60 quietly thinks about. The prostate. That tiny walnut-sized gland can become one of the biggest obstacles to peace, especially at night. Gerald, 74, told me, Doc, I'm up 5 times a night. Not sick, just tired, exhausted, and honestly, scared. His story is far too common. It's called BPH, or benign prostatic hyperplasia, a non-cancerous enlargement of the prostate. It isn't life-threatening, but it disrupts life deeply. Frequent urination, interrupted sleep, feeling like you never fully empty your bladder, and slowly, confidence begins to erode. So how can cloves help? Cloves are rich in eugenol, a natural anti-inflammatory that may reduce swelling in the prostate and improve urinary flow. Their antioxidants support tissue repair and may protect the gland from oxidative stress. Gerald didn't take drastic measures. He made small shifts. Less caffeine, evening walks, 1 warm cup of clove tea before bed. A few weeks later, he said, Doc, I slept through the night. I'd forgotten what that felt like. Sometimes healing isn't about a big fix. It's about creating space to rest, to breathe, to feel like yourself again. And when that space returns, so can your confidence. Which brings us to one of the most emotional topics of all. ED is not a failure. It's a signal. For many men, erectile dysfunction feels like a loss of identity. It's not just about what isn't working. It's about what it seems to say, I'm not a man anymore. But here's the truth. ED is not a failure. It's a message, a signal from your body saying something's out of balance. Please listen. Maybe it's circulation, maybe it's nitric oxide, maybe it's hormones, inflammation, stress, poor sleep, or maybe it's all of them, quietly adding up. Cloves don't fix ED, but they touch almost every system involved. They support blood flow, they enhance nitric oxide production, they calm inflammation, they protect hormonal balance, and they may reawaken nerve sensitivity. Robert, 68, once told me, I stopped seeing ED as sleep, the forgotten healer. We've talked about blood flow, testosterone, inflammation, desire, but none of it sticks, not for long, if your sleep is broken. For many men over 60, sleep is the first thing to go and the last thing they try to fix, but it holds everything else together. Poor sleep doesn't just leave you tired, it raises cortisol, your main stress hormone. It suppresses testosterone, weakens circulation, dulls mental clarity, and crushes libido. Samuel, 74, knew this better than most. Doc, he said, I go to bed tired and wake up even more tired. I'm not myself anymore. His lab showed it all: low testosterone, high blood pressure, broken sleep cycles. So we simplified everything: less screen time, earlier dinners, and just 1 cup of warm clove tea before bed. Why cloves? Because cloves contain mild sedative compounds that gently calm the nervous system and lower cortisol, not by knocking you out like a pill, but by telling your body it's safe to rest now. 2 weeks later, Samuel smiled and said, Doc, I forgot what it felt like to actually rest. And when sleep returned, so did his energy, his clarity, and his desire to reconnect. Sleep is not a luxury, it's your nightly reset, and cloves can be part of the ritual that helps you reclaim it. Now that we've addressed all the vital systems, there's just one more piece left to restore: becoming yourself again. This journey isn't really about cloves or even testosterone, it's about you. Most men I talk to don't want to be 25 again. They just want to feel like themselves, to wake up with purpose, to feel connected in their skin, to walk into a room with quiet confidence, not because of performance, but because of presence. Charles, 73, said it best: "I didn't need to feel young again. I just needed to stop feeling like a stranger in my own skin." That transformation didn't happen overnight. It happened through small daily acts of care: gentle movement, more presence, better sleep, and a single cup of clove tea each night. And slowly the spark returned. Not a blaze, a steady glow. So if you're reading this thinking, maybe it's too late, let me tell you, it's not. You are not broken. You are not too far gone, and you are not alone. Sometimes the most powerful healing begins with one small choice: one cup of tea, one quiet moment, one reminder that your body still knows how to respond. Cloves won't fix everything, but they may help you find your way back. Back to strength, back to peace, back to you. And that's a journey worth taking, one cup at a time.